Hi, I'm Joan Newcomb, and today's Mystic Minute is Saving Kiribati. What does that mean? Kiribati is an island in the Pacific, South Pacific, towards Australia, which is going to be underwater in the next 40 years. The predictions with climate change is that the ocean levels are going to rise 15 feet, and Kiribati is currently at sea level. So what have they been doing about it? They've been buying land in Australia and sending their kids to school there, setting it up to evacuate the island. Now, I actually don't know all the details and the complexities, and I'm sure they have thought of all these different things. But my mind this morning woke me up thinking, we should earthship part of that island. And by that I mean there's this technique for building where you take plastic bottles and aluminum cans and then you pack dirt around them and are able to construct a hurricane-proof building out of landfill. Why don't they take their landfill and take all these plastics in the ocean and wrap them with, actually plant seeds. I'm seeing holes in my ideas now as I'm thinking about it. But you use these invasive species of vines and they'll just grow all around the plastics and bind them. Meanwhile, you have everybody there start using composting toilets so that they can actually be providing more soil. And then you build these water converting factories that take seawater and transform it to palatable drinking water, because you're thinking of the different things that they will lose. They will lose their access to clean drinking water, they'll lose their access to sewage treatment or anything like that. But it's a way of transforming our trash into treasures. And I thought this would be a useful analogy for other things in life. Saving Kiribati. Where are we abandoning our homelands and moving to someplace else instead of working on our foundations? I am going to hear from geologists and climate scientists. Forgive me for my ignorance with some of those subjects, but I'm thinking more in terms of personal growth and what is happening in our lives. And what we have as a tendency is to pull up stakes and run to the next thing, especially when it's something that seems so enormous and so beyond our control, like climate change. There's another thing I meant to do this morning. Apparently the hole in the ozone is closing, and I was going to read up about, like, how did that happen? Why is that happening? Because my spiritual standpoint, my perspective as consciousness is that somewhere along the way there's going to be something invented, a new technology, there's going to be a new awareness of what is causing climate change or ways to combat it that is ultimately going to resolve the issue on a certain level. That is my bigger perspective. So the closing hole in the ozone means something. Okay, yeah, we have melting ice caps. I'm not taking on climate change. I'm just taking on Kiribati right now. So here's the thing to think about. We have our own personal reactions to things that are coming at us that seem global, that seem beyond our ability to deal with it. What can we do to make the changes within ourselves? And it doesn't have to be something that's going to take 40 years, because that was my, this morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, going, they have 40 years to combat 15 feet. Can they have 40 years of landfill building up beyond 15 feet? And then what structures do they need to have in place? Now, the thing is, we don't know what we're actually doing within our lives that might be preparing us for whatever next steps are coming, because we're actually creating our lives creating our experiences from a multidimensional level. And there's only part of us that is navigating with any consciousness at all. So one of the things that happens as we go through our growth and change is that when we look back on it, we see all these different threads that contributed to the now. So there's all these different threads that contributed to something breaking down, to that breakthrough, or the steps that took us to a certain amount of success. And what we have right now in the moment, though, is we have our best thinking, which sometimes is okay. Sometimes is how useful was saving Kiribati for the 2 hours before I had to wake up this morning. And we have the ability to shift our perspective to a greater way of responding to what is in the world. So here's another component, is sometimes the answers aren't coming from where you're looking. Sometimes the solutions aren't right in front of you. Or sometimes actually they are right in front of you, you're not looking in the right direction. Often I have found I am going in this direction because this is what I'm doing with my life, this is where I want the results, yada, yada, yada. And what comes in is out of left field. And for me, that is consciousness. When it comes from out of left field, that is conscious creation. That is manifestation showing up. It doesn't invalidate everything that I've been doing to go in this direction, though, because going in this direction is useful. Nothing is ever a waste of time or energy. All the mistakes that you've ever had have gotten you to this point, setting you up for receiving the whatever's coming in out of left field. So how do you resolve the Kiribati in your life? How do you resolve the climate change that appears to be all around you, that appears to be threatening and affecting your life in the moment, your life as you know it? And here's the answer that I have, which is, if something seems to be bigger than you can handle, if something seems to be threatening your existence, any of that noise from the unconscious world is not as powerful as who you essentially are. You as essence are consciousness. Yes, you're the energy that comes from out of left field. Yes, you're the awareness that comes in and moves through. You are the all that is. And when you shift your perspective, whether it's like going up to shift your perspective, going back, going deeper within to shift your perspective, it reveals to you all the possibilities. It reveals to you all the potentiality. It reveals to you the solution. Another way of saying it, you could say it opens you up to the possibilities. It opens you up to receiving the solution. It doesn't really matter. I don't have to quibble with the directions about it. My awareness when I shift into consciousness is that there are no directions. So it doesn't matter going up, going in. I go in because my training, my tendency is to go out. And my awareness is that I am consciousness, and that's my best way of accessing it, is from within. However you access the greater aspect that you are, however you access your highest conscious awareness, do it in order to find your own solution to the climate change in your life, to where you think your shoreline is eroding, to where you think that you're about to be washed away by the unrelenting storms in your life. What will reveal to you is something stronger, more constant, and more true and real than anything that's going on in the outside world. And that is absolutely invaluable. So if you like these videos, you can subscribe to them on YouTube. You can also sign up below to get them in your inbox. If you want to know more, my website is joan-newcomb.com. I have a weekly radio show and podcast. I write a weekly blog and newsletter. I do meetups around the Puget Sound in Seattle and Tacoma and places in between. I have a monthly webinar. And if you want to know more about how to navigate this world from a greater perspective of consciousness, go to my website, joan-newcomb.com, and look at my coaching programs. So go to joan-newcomb.com, and I'll see you in another couple days with another Mystic Minute.